So, Lua, tell me, how did you first find out about magic?
I would say I had three initiations in life. First, when I was a child, as a Christian child, when I started seeing ghosts and dead people.
All right.
But the church wouldn't explain me how to deal with it, how to deal with all the magic, woo-woo things around me. But my father was a cardicist, which is also a Christian, but
Okay.
a Christian who knows more about ghosts and the afterlife. They talk a lot about how to contact the dead. So it was the first introduction to what they call them white magic, although I don't really like.
Yeah.
I don't really like this term. But then the second initiation was 11 years ago when I first found out about chaos magic.
Okay.
And I began as a Caote. And the third one was in 2016, actually, when I came out of the broom closet as a witch and I showed the world who is Lua Valentia. And Lua Valentia is actually a hyper sigil I
Okay.
did in my living room one day. I wrote down every aspect of the person I wanted to become. So that's it.
Okay, that's wonderful. So tell me a bit more about your childhood. And so you were saying you were in a kind of a Christian family, a Christian kind of society, and was there strange things happening to you? How did you know that that wasn't for you? Like, what was going on? Did you just have like a feeling that there was magic, or what was your thoughts?
Well, we used to live in a haunted place, in a haunted, very old house. And first I saw this boy, he was holding this knife and he was coming towards me and it was
Oh
terrifying.
wow.
And and I immediately thought this isn't from here. This is from somewhere else. It's not here. My mom couldn't see it. I would scream, and they took me to a psychological place, to treat me or whatever. And
Yeah.
they told them that I was a normal kid. I just had a high imagination.
Right. Okay.
but but if like I was really into the cult of Mary. I
Okay.
thought Mary, the mother of God, was a goddess, actually. So, so I was really into that, but I didn't know about magic. I believe I started knowing that there was something called witchcraft when Harry Potter came out
All right.
as
Okay. Yeah.
as books.
Yeah.
But until then, like all these dead people coming to me or trying to connect with me, I thought either they're just my imagination or something I cannot know how to deal with. But because there were cardicists in my family, I started studying it. But my
Okay.
conservative mother didn't like that at all.
Oh, right, okay. Right. And so it was kind of, was it her that was kind of pushing you to get a kind of more psychological kind of look at things, like say, is to keep away from the woo woo of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is just your imagination. You enjoy reading a lot or something like that. And eventually, I thought it was the case. I was very skeptical for a while. I didn't believe that there were any external beings or any God. And that was very important because I needed to be more grounded and to understand what is reality and how magic plays itself in our reality. So
Right.
I need to have a paradigm shift from time to time.
Yes.
And skepticism is very important for me to ground.
Yes, yes.
Was there a particular thing that happened to you when you were a child that made you stop thinking, not stop being so skeptical? Was there, or was it just a kind of there was so much happening that you just couldn't be skeptical about it? Or how did that work out? Like, how did you start trusting yourself that this was happening?
Well, first of all, when I was a child, I was dealing with all these dead spirits, let's put this way, all these dead people. So I wasn't skeptical then.
Right.
I was just thinking that it wasn't for me. So one day I prayed to Mary, my mother, my goddess back then, so she could close my body, as we say in Portuguese. I'm a Brazilian.
Okay.
So I couldn't see the spirits anymore. And she did. And
Okay.
that really helped me because I wasn't prepared to deal with such things. And I didn't want people around me to think I was crazy or that I was losing my mind or whatever. So it was important. This skepticism came later in my life. Actually, when I was first starting reading about chaos magic, I was very skeptic about the whole thing. And I really enjoyed that chaos magic allowed me to be so. It allowed me to experience all the paths I could take. So I read about Buddhism. Okay, right, you can do it. I read about Greek magic. Wonderful. And also Dawkins and all, all the atheist popes and stars back then. So all of this, I found myself in chaos magic. So nowadays, I can really say I am chaos magic, and I'm not ashamed of using the term because it is what brought me to life. It made me who I am nowadays.
Well, I suppose it allowed you to be all the things that you were without kind of putting too many rules on it. Which that's why I like chaos magic too. You said that Mother Mary and that Mary is treated as like a goddess in Brazil. That's very similar to how it is in Ireland, but I don't think that's really how it is treated so much by in the rest of Christianity, particularly not American Christianity. Can you tell me a bit about what Christianity looks like in Brazil, particularly when you were growing up, and the kind of what it was like? Like, had you saints? Did you work with saints in the same way that like Irish people work with saints, like as if they're lesser gods, or what did that look like?
That's a wonderful question because in Brazil, we are highly mystical. I would say every Brazilian is, in fact, a chaos magician.
Right.
Because we have Christian as the main faith there, but we also have candomblé, quimbanda, umbanda, and all these other faiths that brings so much to our table. So people in Brazil, they can, go to the church every Sunday, and then on Tuesday they go to the terreiro, which is a magical temple.
Okay.
Or they can on Wednesday they could go to a quimbanda or Kardecist temple, and so there's a lot going on there, and people there, they're very open-minded to mystical things, everything new. So I think that's why chaos magic is growing so fast in Brazil, especially holy servants, because people really enjoy what is new, what is mystical, what can bring them a sensation of freedom. So growing up, I was conservative because my family taught me to be so. But I think the majority can be more open-minded than what I was, because I was growing up in a very small town. Sorry. So I don't think I could be the measure for what is going on right now.
Okay.
Is there a kind of a generation thing going on? Like, is the older generation in Brazil still kind of very conservative, or have they opened a bit to the more mystical side, or how is that?
Yes, they're definitely the conservatives one. I mean, if you look to what is going on political in Brazil, you can see the reflection of that. A president saying God above all and all that. So yeah, there are the conservatives, but I still hope with my heart that the open-minded people will prevail.
Yeah. Well, so do we all.
So, like, so you're saying that the kind of the house, there's obviously the Christianity and then the other kind of various different faiths. It seems like there's like folk magic is probably like, I know that's not a great word, but it seems to be something that's used a lot. Is like magic used day to day in people's lives in Brazil? Is it like something that, let me see if I can give you an example, where people do little rituals and stuff, you know, to help, like, with, say, selling things or to protect themselves, or what sort of things?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They do it in a daily basis. It's very common there. We have actually famous witches going on TV to talk about magic there,
Oh wow. Yeah.
which you don't see this as much happening in other places, I believe. We have lots of native influences, gypsy influences. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful spiritual country. And I think that's why chaos magic is growing there so fast right now, because it has a chaotic mindset there for sure, I
Right.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So how did you first come across chaos magic itself? Like, where did that first appear? Was it a book? Was it a person? What was it?
Yes, it was my friend, William. He gave me a book. He gave me Peter Carroll's book.
Okay.
And I first started reading about it in English, and I started practicing it, and from there I just came up with other authors. I encountered other books, and eventually your book, The 47th, and that's it. And it was a great discovery. And I don't think you know how an influence you are in Brazil and to the people there, and how big and how people really like you and they look up to you
Well, that's very kind.
in magic. No, it is real. It is real. I don't think you know the dimension of how you touch people's lives.
Well, I think an awful lot of that is to do with you, because you were the first person that I seen talking about it in. Well, you're one of the first people to talk about the 47s other than me. And it was strange because when I found your YouTube, because it was all in Portuguese, I was going, this is so strange. I don't know what she's saying. But I could hear my name, I can hear, 47. So how exactly did you come across then the 47s? How did that happen?
I don't remember.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I just know that I saw those beings and I was in love with them. I fell in love with the servitors. I thought I need to start working with them. And so I did. And I said, okay, I have a YouTube channel. I need to talk about it. And it was the thing that actually, talking about it, people started falling in love with them as well. They wanted to get to know them. They asked me to talk more about them. They asked me to give them courses and readings, divination readings, and all of that. And it became their own thing, like they're free and they're spreading themselves. And I felt this energy and power. And of course, it was working. It is working. That's why people coming asking for more.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
to know more. So I started writing about it in my blog and translating, because unfortunately only 5% of Brazilians speak English. So I thought I felt the need to take them to Brazil. So that happened that way, but I don't remember exactly where. Maybe CMG, but I'm not sure
Right.
where
Okay.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
Everything, all the roads lead back to CMG at some point. To all seem to get there. So, you were going from the very conservative Christian but mystical woo-woo kind of childhood, and then you were finding chaos magic. What sort of stuff did you start doing sigils straight away? Did you did you walk through Liber Null, do the different meditation things? What did your practice look like once you discovered chaos magic?
Okay, so the first thing I did was I created a sigil, and I remember as if it was yesterday, and I asked for a truck of pretzels.
All right. Okay.
And of course, it didn't work. First of all, I didn't really want that. So it was kind of it was just for fun. I was trying to experimenting on it and just laughing and whatever. I was again very skeptical about it. But finally, it started working. The
Okay.
sigil practice, the daily practice, meditating, and all that started working. And it got me to a point in which I decided that I wanted to take a step further and create this hyper sigil
Okay.
and change my life completely, which
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I did it again, and now I'm here in Australia.
Okay, well, just don't skip too far ahead. Well, let's unpack that a bit. So you,
Okay.
because that sounds very interesting. So, doing sigils, doing stuff. Where did you first hear of the idea of hyper sigils? First of all, was that just the Grant Morrison Disinfo lecture where we all heard about it? Yeah.
Yes, it was the first thing I watched, and then I started reading about pop magic.
Yes. Yeah.
And then how did you go from that to deciding that I'm going to, like, I think it's a brilliant idea to have you as a hyper sigil. How did you come up with that idea? What was, were you, like, how do I ask this? Were you unhappy with who you were? Did you feel that you wanted to leave things behind you, the person you were? Or what was your kind of thinking? Why did you make a hyper sigil of yourself? That's probably the question.
First, with chaos magic, as a private thing, I got what I wanted, which was stable income and all of that. So when I reached my first goal, I said, okay, how can I become better? Because I was very shy. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be out there. And I wanted to have some qualities that I thought were important to my life. Like I always enjoyed film noir or the femme fatale character.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, how can I become more of that? Because I'm so shy, I'm here, but I want to become this witch. I want all the glamour, all of that.
Yeah.
So how can I create this persona that can, talk to the camera? Because I was so shy, I couldn't have a YouTube channel. You don't find photos of myself before 2016. I mean,
Okay.
there are photos, but not as many.
Yeah.
And then I started creating the psychological aspects I want to bring to my life, and the physical aspects I also to bring to this persona. Even the name, everything is created.
Right.
I started learning more about psychology and magical narratives. So I started bringing that to the table. So I sat down with my magical diary. I wrote all the qualities I wanted to achieve, even though if that meant to fake it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wrote it down. It was raining. All of it had some of the movie qualities you can think of it.
Yeah.
And I made this huge ritual, and it was very intense. It had music, it had blood, it had black candles, and it was like a transmutation ritual.
Okay.
I did it all that, and then it's not like something out of the blue. Oh wow, I became this now. I'm ready to go. No,
Yeah.
it was a construct, if I may say like that.
Yeah.
I was building up as I go. So at some point, I developed this cult that I don't have anymore, but it was an experience that I want to go through, to see the depth I could achieve being this persona.
Right.
And how long, let me see, how long did it take from the ritual to then, say, going to the blog, to the YouTube? Was that fairly quick, or like was that part of the magic, or is there a bit of time between the ritual and then the kind of public appearance of Lua?
I think it happened. The both happened as I was experimenting. So I started the blog, the fan page, the personal page, and everything fairly at the same time.
Okay.
But I only started the YouTube channel the year later.
Right. Okay.
A few months later, actually, because I wasn't ready for the camera playing it.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing, because that my doing the YouTube channel and the blog and all that is very similar in reasons for you that you did it, particularly the YouTube and stuff, because I equally hated photos of myself, and there isn't any photos from certain eras. And so for me, doing the YouTube and doing that thing was like definitely a magical act of revealing, if you want. But the question I want to ask a bit about, when you do make a hypersigil of yourself and you try to change yourself in that way, how do you stop yourself from feeling fake and inauthentic? And I know there is a part of you that you have to fake it till you make it and stuff like that, but did you ever feel that you were playing a role or being an actor rather than being yourself?
I think being an actor is part of it.
Okay.
If you are a witch and a mage, if you're talking to a public, you need to learn how to act, because you're talking. You need to know how to communicate. So my background as a communicator, I studied communication and marketing. This was really helpful because I needed to know how to talk and to behave to the public and to reach an audience. But at the same time, I'm always asking myself, who am I?
Yeah.
Because once you become a public person or whatever, oh, okay, it can be very glamorous, but also can be very dangerous.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially in the magic groups, there are people who become fanatics. There was this one person who discovered my address and came to the place and
Oh no.
and all of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful as well. So I'm always asking who I am and how to protect myself, because in magic there is always some kind of a dispute between egos.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to send you this curse. You're going to die in my hands. And I curse you.
Yeah.
So you need to put the persona further. You need to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, you need. There is this Pombagira being, which is a Afro-Brazilian being. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an entity. It's an entity that it comes down on you, and sometimes you need to let the Pombagira become you, because you become the Pombagira, because you need to let you go, you know. Otherwise, if you start believing in every curse people say they're going to destroy you, they're going to destroy your life and all of that, that's when acting is so important.
Yes, yeah. Because it creates that barrier between you and, I suppose, the real world, in a sense. Like, so say you're doing like the kind of the public thing and putting yourself out there and, you know, trying to be, in a sense, that says acting and trying to, as much, I suppose, within that to be as authentic as possible. Is there then kind of a separate personality of, you know, still the person who you are, say, around your family and your friends and stuff? Or has it now kind of become one, in a sense? Like, has the hypersigil totally taken over even in your personal life?
I think it took over. Yes. At some point, I started not separating as much.
Okay.
So I think I reached the point that I want to even creating, even leveling up the persona a little bit.
Yeah,
because now I feel too close to it.
Yeah.
And I need to push it further. Because yes, now everybody know me as Lua Valentia, and I love it. I don't want to hear my old name again.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a thing that people do in magic. Is take this magic name. Like, it's such a, like, it's so prevalent in magic. Like, it's a thing that has been around since the beginning. Like, even Aleister Crowley had any number of names. Loads of pagans, when they take on new names. When you get to certain, you know, steps in different organizations, you get a new name. And I think the kind of taking on your own new name, your own magic name, is it's a very powerful act, and it's very old magic, really. Like, it's not like, why we'll say it's chaos magic in a sense, because we're both coming from a chaos magic kind of perspective. It's ancient magic, you know. It's I suppose it's where the idea of persona comes from, which was the mask that actors wore, you know, that kind of, even in that mundane sense. So you're saying it's an ongoing hypersigil. So what sort of stuff are you doing now to feed it or to improve it, or how does it look now? Like, is it just doing the YouTube? Is it doing the blogs, or is there more to it?
Well, there are definitely the personal care, the self-care part of it. So I enjoy very much taking baths, long baths.
Okay.
With rock salt, roses, and all that. I enjoy mirror magic a lot. So all the self-care, but with a magical flavor to it.
Okay.
So I enchant my own makeup. I use certain perfumes, certain magical tools, like my necklaces. Everything is enchanted.
Okay.
So it reminds me of magic, of what I am and what I want to be. So because Lua means moon in Portuguese, so I try to use lots of moons, something that has moons, or some, you know, that reminds the cosmos and all the symbols. So my symbols, they all have to do with the moon. So rabbits, stars, and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
are you familiar with Anton LaVey and the Satanic? But yeah, so that, because a lot of what you're describing is lesser magic in the sense of Anton LaVey, particularly his book, The Satanic Witch. So would that have been a book you would have?
It is one of my favorite books ever.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, it was very funny, because one of the high priestess of our coven calls Chaos Weavers, she's called Diana the Loon. I was talking to her, and she said, "Oh my God, you're describing exactly the Satanic Witch," and she gave me the book.
Right. Okay.
And
right. Yeah.
When I read it, I was like, yes, 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 that's it, exactly. And I was in love with it. And I love Satanism. It's a very part of my being.
Oh yeah.
So I suppose the Satanic Witch was the first time you came across Satanism, Aunt LaVey. Would that have been?
No. I read the Satanic Bible before that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the rituals. But I wasn't. I was more into the mystical part of it. So when she presented me the book, she gave me as a gift. It was like one of the rare copies in Portuguese. It felt really special.
Right.
To me, and I said, okay, he's even more genius than I thought he was.
All right. Okay.
He knows the psyche. He knows what he's talking about. He knew what he wanted to become.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I suppose people kind of dismiss him an awful lot because of the kind of, I suppose, the cabaret aspects of Satanism and the Church of Satan, and it's a lot of the aesthetics and stuff. But I think he definitely knew what he was at. Like, he was very much knew who he was as a person and was able to present it that way. Was there anyone else that would have been a big influence in the way, say, Grant Morrison and, say, Anton LaVey was? Was there, who else were you reading? Who else were you getting influences from?
Well, I love Peter Gray.
Okay.
And the Apocalyptic Witchcraft is also one of my favorite books ever. So when I write about witchcraft, the people who come to my mind, aside from Peter Carroll, of course, are you, first of all.
Oh, thank you very much.
Peter Gray, and also Joshua Madara, who is the techno magic.
Oh yes, yeah.
So there are the people who influenced me more with magic and what I became, especially the manifest from Apocalyptic Witchcraft. It is a great manifest, and I have it in my heart.
Okay.
So much that the album of my band, Caotes, is called Manifest.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the first.
No, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say that the first song of the album is us reading the manifest and singing in both Portuguese and English.
Okay, that's very cool.
So other than blogs, YouTubes, you have a band and you do music and stuff like that. Is that part of the Hypersigil? Is that a separate thing, or is everything you do part of the Hypersigil?
Yes, the band is another Hypersigil.
Okay.
It is for us to talk about chaos magic. It is chaotic, so it is a chaos magic band altogether, and we talk also about politics and everything, really, because right now we are in this time in history that we need to stand up for something. We need to talk about what is going on. So though I have a left-hand path ideal, I also understand the importance of being in a collective mindset that understand what I do interferes in the other. Now with coronavirus,
Sure.
We see that is real. So
Yes,
we need to have so we talk about that, and we talk about oppression and how to free yourself from oppression, how to free your mind and become your own self, and setting a goal to freedom. And freedom not to enslave the other, but freedom to also free the other.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. That's very cool. That's very interesting. How long have you been doing that? Has that been an ongoing? Because I know I've definitely seen and heard some of your stuff, but I thought it was more a solo type thing. This is a band. I'm taking it.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2 years now.
Okay.
So we have Nick Rader from the United States. We've had Erickson in Brazil, and we have me living now in Australia. And we're still doing it. We're still thinking about new songs and new ideas.
Well, so the world is so much smaller now with the internet. You can even record albums with people being in 3 different continents or 3 different planets probably at this point.
Yes, yes.
So at the beginning you said there was 3 big points in your life, or 3 big magic things, which was the early childhood, the hyper sigil of Lua, and then the third then is moving to Australia, or that kind of, is that right?
Oh, it's when I came out as a witch.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah. Yeah.
When I decided to become Lua Valentia.
And so what's the next stage then going to look like? What's because I'm sure you have plans.
Oh yes, I do. The next stage is figuring out what leveling up means right now,
Okay.
because I've written a lot, but I still have more to write about. I've published books and all that, but there's still more in me. I started randonauting because of you,
right.
actually.
Right, yes.
Actually, and it was insane.
Insane. It is insane. It's so much fun to.
No, it was fun. Last time I asked for money, right?
Okay.
So we were walking and we found this box written ANZ, which is a bank here in Australia.
Yeah, right.
And so obviously it has to do with money. And inside of it, a bunch of martini cups.
Right. Okay.
So we took it home. I found it fantastic. I was like, randonauting is actually changing my perspective so much.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
If you're listening to it, please check it out because it's amazing.
Well, it's probably not going to be able to do an awful lot of randonauting now with the coronavirus. We all have to, stay indoors. Yeah. We can randonaut around our sitting rooms. That's about the height of it.
Yeah, we still have mushrooms though. We can randonaut here.
Well, this is very true. Very true. Yeah. Oh, we can still be psychonauts. So you have this. I've heard you say that you have the distinction between left-hand path, and you would consider yourself left-hand path, and right-hand path. How do you describe the difference between left-hand path and right-hand path then?
Oh, I really love the Stephen Flowers book,
Okay.
Lords of the Left-Hand Path.
Yeah.
I really recommend it. And he describes it, I agree with him, he describes it as the right-hand path is when you want to unite yourself with God. You want to become one with God. You want to kill your ego, to become one with nature or your higher self or whatever you think is higher than you. And the left-hand path is when you want to be yourself. You want to figure out what that means. You want to be your own person. You want to become a god or a goddess, a lord or a lady, as he describes in his amazing book, but separate from God or the god or Shiva or whatever you think.
Yeah.
So I really loved his definition, and he goes on his book writing about it over and over again from different perspectives. So Buddhism, Hinduism, even every way of thinking that you didn't, at least me, I didn't think they had a left-hand path.
Yes.
In Buddhism, for instance. No, they do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Particularly in the Tibetan kind of sect of Buddhism, there's definitely a left-hand path.
And Hinduism, of course, has that word I can never pronounce right, the Varmikarma, or whatever it's called, the left, which is strictly where the left-hand path comes from. But it's definitely a kind of a more than just, because people say that the left-hand path, right-hand path is mostly coming from kind of like a theosophy, late 1900s type, Western occultism. But there definitely is a kind of a left-hand path idea in a more ancient kind of philosophy.
No, I think it's older than that, because he starts it talking about Hinduism and how the idea of the hands came with a Hindu concept. So the left-hand path, for instance, it has a lot to do with the feminine, with the goddess, with becoming the goddess. So the males, for instance, they needed to learn how to become the goddess. And all the tantra that we know that has sexual magic in it, for instance, it comes from this very concept of becoming the goddess. So, of course, when you start debating with other people, they would say, oh no, Tantra is not about sex. And I agree with them. Not all Tantra is about sex, but there is definitely the left-hand path of everything. And the left-hand path is very, very sexual. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of I suppose delineation, and you definitely have, I can see the place for it as well. But I'm interested in how that kind of fits then within a chaos magic kind of perspective of everything goes. And like, would you have days then where a right hand path approach would work better, or do you just firmly stick to kind of the philosophy of left hand path?
No, definitely the paradigm shift is very important. So sometimes we need even to experiment the other side.
Yeah.
And I try that a lot. Like if I was, when I was strictly vegetarian, I tried at least once a year eat meat to see how that felt.
Yes.
And if I really hate the right wing, but I would read it. I still do.
Yeah.
I would read and listen to them and try to put me in their mindset to understand what's going on. So it's not easy. I'm not saying that I can have all the mindsets
Sure. Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on. No, I can't.
Yeah.
I have my favorite ones, and the left hand path is definitely one of them. But sometimes trying to understand your ego and understand who you are, and try not to go all over it. If I start like being very selfish, for instance,
Okay.
although I understand where it comes from, I know I need to take a deep breath and see, well, come on, you can, be do different, try
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and I think that's very important to not get stuck in our kind of our own ways. And that thing you said about the vegetarianism, and then one day a year you'd break it, to break the taboo. And I find that we get that's important, and it's very hard to do. It's probably harder to do to break something like eat meat on one day than it is to not eat meat for the entire year. Because you kind of get into that kind of that mode, or you get into that kind of routine, and it becomes a habit. And to break these habits can be quite hard, which is what the left-hand part of it is of course, is destroying the taboos, and getting rid of these things. So having these, I suppose the thing is to make sure that you don't fall into following the taboo of the left-hand path without breaking it too, which is the, it's important. So I have an easy question for you. I have a very easy question for you. What is magic?
It is what you create.
Okay. And how does it work?
I think it works with your mind, with the power of becoming a god or a goddess, a lord or a lady. I think when you put enough effort to anything, the mind is so powerful that it changes everything around it. And I know it because I'm living in the other side of the world. And I've seen so much, I've been through so much in this past few years that I moved here, that I truly see how the mind is powerful, because there are so many worlds like that out there. Realities are so different from each other. People are so different. Culture, everything can be alien.
Mm-hmm.
So when you move countries, you can feel that in your skin. So you understand how the mindset is powerful, and
Yes.
changing it, having the ability to change it is what makes a powerful mage.
So is it a bit more than, say, like law of attraction? It's not just like, I think I will get a new car, I will get a new car. It's the intention followed, a focused intention that followed by action. Because in the sense of that, you could think all day about moving to Australia, but you actually have to do it then too. You have to make plans and you have to go with it. So you would definitely come from the idea of chaos magic, that belief is a tool and that belief is the agency of magic. So how do you think then, because you do use like talismans and enchantments and stuff, are they all just to boost your beliefs then rather than have magic in them themselves?
If that makes sense.
No, I also enjoy techno magic quite a lot.
Yeah.
So for instance, the necklace I'm wearing right now is actually a techno magic piece.
Okay.
So it is made by onyx. So of course there is the woo-woo side. If you believe the onyx has a power to keep the evil away from you.
Yeah.
All right. I left it hours in the full moon to charge it, but it also connects to my smartphone and gives me details of how my sleep pattern.
Yeah.
How many steps did I take? It also predicts my cycle, my period, and everything.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it has an app in it. It has an app in it with lots of yoga poses, facial yoga, and all that. So you set your goal in it, and it says precisely how much of your goal you've reached per day or whatever. So I really enjoy putting some technology into it. So it's not just a belief tool. I think it's everything in it. But of course, like for instance, I'm Persephone's daughter, so I have a strong connection with her. And in my latest book, Otaluma, I made this whole ritual of initiation to be her priestess. And one of the things that you should do is get a magical tool that connects you to her, like a magical jewelry. It's like a ring. When you get married, you have a ring.
Sure.
And it's ancient. The act giving your lover a ring and connecting you, like my husband and I feel connected to him, not only because I have a ring, of course, but having it with me reminds me of our love and our wedding day and our connection. So that's it. I think I try to do that with the gods as well, like having magical jewelry or just for them, or crowns and all that.
Yeah. That's really cool. And like the ring thing, like even the Catholic nuns wear rings because they're married to Jesus and all this. So it's in that kind of thing. So yeah, is there anything you would like to say that we haven't talked about before we go, or is there anything we haven't covered?
Yes, just that. Thank you.
All right.
Or as we say in Portuguese, gratidão.
Oh well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everything you created.
Oh, well, and thank you very much.
Please know with your heart that we appreciate you and your art, and we support you as we can. We Brazilians really appreciate everything you've done. So please do not forget. If you ever feel tired, or if people are bothering you too much, I know, Tommy, I know it can be very hard. It can. But know that you're very powerful because you're changing people's lives. Even if you don't realize that, I need you to know that you're changing their lives.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
So just before we go, for the people who are of the English-speaking world, what can you offer them? Have you books in English? Have you blogs in English? What is there anything that they could go and check you out around?
Oh yes, we have our band is in English, Caotes, And we will soon have the current 108 website, which will be in English.
Great.
And it's about current 108 in Chaos Magic. So check it out soon, because lots of people that I admire, they're really into it. But it's a surprise.
Right, okay, don't say too much. Don't say too
I'll
much.
let you know about it.
Great stuff. Right, well, I will put all your links in the show description and your YouTube channel and all of those things. And yeah, well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this, and we'll definitely do this again at some stage if you're up for it. I'd like to have another chat with you. And bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye. See you.